So my mom is apparently watching the show, which is weird because she doesn't get the internet. My mom using the Twitter handle Zyconomics, who wrote Rock and Roll Jesus and said, "Tell Ben to button his shirt." And Jesus said, "We can't because Ben thinks it's cool." I don't so much think it's cool as I think this is how Republicans dress. That's all there is to it. Here, I'll tell you what, I just fucking do this. Are you happy now, Zyconomics?
The president today gave a press conference.
Yeah, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry if it falls open this much. I apologize. You're supposed to be like this. What do you want from me? I'm sorry. Okay, so the president, yeah, you know what? I think it's cooler. I do. Tony Curtis, the great actor Tony Curtis, said two things. One, Tony Curtis thinks that this button should be undone. Tony Curtis said a man never buttons just the top button. Tony Curtis got laid like more than anybody watching the show could possibly imagine. Said that a grown man never buttons only the top button. He leaves at least two open, sometimes three, and never wears an undershirt under his shirt. Amen. Tony Curtis. If Tony Curtis said it, it's true. He is dead now. So Barack Obama has his press conference today, and he lowered the hammer on Republicans a little bit. I think it's fair to say. It was a surprising moment. He talked about jet airplanes, that the Republicans who don't want to tax the wealthy and that they are holding up our ability to raise the debt ceiling because we can't reach a budget reduction plan because Republicans won't agree to increase revenue by raising taxes, even on the richest Americans. Now, I want him, as I said at the beginning of the show, I want us to hammer away on the price because I think it will resonate with regular Americans if we keep saying 200 or 250 or 300,000, 400,000, I don't care. Pick a number with a bunch of zeros after it and hammer away that these people aren't paying their fair share, that they've gotten how many tax breaks since Bill Clinton left office, and now we don't have any money, and now they've got to pay, and that's frickin' that. That's what we need to hear from the president. But we won't say it because we're afraid, first of all, that there, as Michael Shore pointed out on the WMB show today, there's so many Democrats making that much money, making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 that don't want to pay that tax. And that's a fact. Doesn't matter. You want to appeal to middle-class Americans, you start talking about that. Start talking about it again and again, but we won't do it. We've picked something else to talk about, private jets. I think it's kind of lame to talk about private jets because I don't think it resonates because instinctively people know how many people have private jets. Not that many. I really don't think it's as effective, but at least the Obama administration is going to try it. So he starts talking about how Democrats are willing to cut some entitlement programs and they're willing to give up programs to help the middle class and to help the poor. They're willing to make sacrifices, but Republicans aren't. He's really calling them out on it because they are refusing to tax the very wealthy, big oil he talked about, and the private jets. So let's start with clip 8. This is Obama saying everybody's willing to sacrifice except the Republicans. He calls them out in unusual fashion at today's press conference.
The Republicans say they want to reduce the deficit. Every single observer who's not an elected official, who's not a politician, says we can't reduce our deficit in the scale and scope that we need to without having a balanced approach that looks at everything. Democrats have to accept some painful spending cuts that hurt some of our constituencies and we may not like. And we've shown a willingness to do that for the greater good. So the question is, if everybody else is willing to take on their sacred cows and do tough things in order to achieve the goal of real deficit reduction, then I think it would be hard for the Republicans to stand there and say that the tax break for corporate jets is sufficiently important that we're not willing to come to the table and get a deal done. Or we're so concerned about protecting oil and gas subsidies for oil companies that are making money hand over fist, that's the reason we're not going to come to a deal. I don't think that's a sustainable position. You can't reduce the deficit to the levels that it needs to be reduced without having some revenue in the mix. And the revenue
All right, so there's the president lowering the sum hammer. It's interesting that at no point can he use the phrase, no one gets to say anymore, we need to raise taxes, because those words are like a political killer. So Democrats have now trotted out the phrase revenue raisers, which Republicans, at least to their credit, are correctly saying, hey man, they mean raise your taxes. And guess what? They do mean raise your taxes, but they really mean raise taxes on the wealthy. We got to say that. Just say it. Stop talking about revenue raisers or every economist says we need to look at the whole picture. The whole picture is raising taxes. Raise taxes. Say it. Act like something matters to you. Act like you're being honest. And I swear people will respond if you consistently act like it and don't act like it in the Barack Obama way. Economists will tell you that you've got to look at the whole picture when addressing the type of deficit problem that he's so passionate. You just feel it. You get excited listening to him. All right, so let's do GOP leaders. We can skip clip 7. So now let's get into the gay marriage thing, because obviously reporters asked him about the gay marriage law in New York, and Obama gave an interesting answer. Let's play clip number 5.
This administration, under my direction, has consistently said we cannot discriminate as a country against people on the basis of sexual orientation. And we have done more in the 2.5 years that I've been in here than the previous 43 presidents to uphold that principle. We have made sure that that is a central principle of this administration, because I think it's a central principle of America. What I've seen happen over the last several years, and what happened in New York last week, I think was a good thing, because what you saw was the people of New York having a debate, talking through these issues. It was contentious, it was emotional, but ultimately they made a decision to recognize civil marriages. And I think that's exactly how things should work. But I think we're moving in a direction of greater equality, and I think that's a good thing.
He thinks it's a good thing. Okay, I got it. He thinks it's a good thing. He's right. They've done more for gay rights than the previous 43 presidents combined. They have. They just have. And I know there are some gay activists who don't think he's done enough. I think they've done a lot. That said, he doesn't ever lower the sort of the righteous hammer that needs to come down. He's always thought it was contentious. There was healthy debate on both sides. Oh man, it's a civil rights issue. There's only one good side here. Only one. Only one side is 100% right and one side is 100% wrong. Not everybody on that wrong side is bad, and they'll eventually come around to it, and they're incorrect for a number of reasons, but they're wrong. And I mean that. They're not all bad. Some of them have been lifelong sort of entrenched ideas. Those who are willing to give every other right to gay Americans, but not this one, I'm prepared to say that they're not, there's no evil in their heart, but they are dead frickin' wrong. So, but Obama just lacks that passion. Then I guess Laura Meckler, is that the name of the reporter, JR, from the Wall Street Journal, asks Obama the significant question of, look, you have said that your position on gay marriage is evolving, that you support civil unions and not gay marriage. Now he's, waiting until the time is right, until he thinks there are votes in it to actively support gay marriage. She asks him that question. It's a good question, needs to be asked. And Obama answers it totally directly, of course.
You said that it's a positive step that so many states, including New York, are moving towards that. Does that mean that you personally now do support same-sex marriage, putting aside what individual states decide? Is that your personal view?
I'm not going to make news on that today. Good try, though.
I'm sorry, I know you don't want to say anything further on the same-sex marriage issue, but what you said before really led me to believe that that's what is in your personal mind, and I'm wondering what's the distinction you're drawing?
Laura, I think this has been asked and answered. I'll keep on giving you the same answer until I give you a different one. All right? And that won't be today. Yeah, exactly. I thought you'd like that one.
That's good stuff. She just cut right in. She was like, nah, hey, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, she was like, no, you said something that leads me to believe your position has changed. Yeah, you're supposed to you're supposed to follow up. Sometimes the follow-up question is the same question again, saying you didn't answer that question, and you put pressure on them. And sometimes that's all you need to, and we got a pretty good answer from the president. I mean, a pretty good answer from the president, not in what he said, but in sort of a revelatory television moment. They're not prepared to go any farther than that right now. They will soon. It's coming, but only when he sees it as advantageous politically. Why he doesn't recognize it as advantageous politically now is a little beyond me. Polls consistently show that most Americans favor gay marriage. Look at this. The governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, who pushed this thing through in the New York Assembly and the New York Senate, the legislature there in New York. His approval rating is the strongest it's been, the highest it's been since he ever took office. A new Quinnipiac University poll has his approval rating at 64%, 64% disapproval of 19, at 64-19, a 45-point gap for Andrew Cuomo in New York. It is higher now than it was before the gay marriage law was put through. So, I mean, what are you waiting for, man? It's popular. People like it. 75% of Democrats, 61% of independents, 53% of Republicans approve of Andrew Cuomo. His last name is Cuomo, and 53% of Republicans approve of it. So I got to tell you, man, just say it. Just get yourself past it. You know what I think I approve of gay marriage? What do you think's going to happen? It's going to be fine. It's going to be good. You're on the right side. You're on the right side about this, and you're on the right side about taxes, man. Just say it. Just say it. Just say it. When we come back, we're going to talk to one of the women who sexted with Anthony Weiner, a woman we've praised on this show for the way she handled an interview on the Today Show. Her name is Tracy Nobles. Stick around. We're coming.
Welcome back to TYT. Anna and Ben with you. Ben and Anna. Banana.
What does it mean, Ben and Anna?
It's the Banana Show.
Right, you just got to say it, though.
Everyone calls it that now, on Twitter, on Facebook. By the way, you should check out our Twitter at twitter.com/theyoungturks and our Facebook at facebook.com/tytnation.
Right. Okay.
Get it?
I don't know what you just said. I started to repeat it, and then I realized I didn't know what it was. So it was
Me? We have such a great hour ahead for you
Yeah,
guys.
it's good
This
stuff.
hour is full of nothing but drama. Okay, it's like, first of all, there are random animal stories, but there are also a lot of stories regarding affairs and crabs. Okay, we'll get to that later.
Crabs? Like
Crabs.
The bad kind of crabs?
The bad kind of
By the way,
crabs.
I think the bad kind of crabs are the crabs you eat.
Oh. That reminds me of a Simpsons episode where Homer goes up to a vendor and he has two options for a drink. It's either crab juice or Mountain Dew. He's like, ugh, I'll take the crab juice. That's my favorite part of The Simpsons ever.
It's a great line. I've not seen that. That's funny. That's good.
All right, but let's start off with the most salacious story of the day.
Yeah, all right.
Chris Hansen from To Catch a Predator.
Yeah.
Turns out to be a predator himself.
Oh,
Okay,
please.
no, that's unfair.
Jesus.
That's unfair.
Come on.
But he has been caught cheating on his wife with a woman 20 years younger than him.
Yeah.
He's 51. The woman is 30 years old. It's Kristen Cadell. She is a reporter, a journalist. And he got caught because the National Enquirer had a sting operation on him. So they had hidden cameras following him around. And they caught footage of him going to her apartment, you know, a little frisky, a little dinner.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this story. You know, it's funny. That's Kristen Cadell, and earlier we saw a picture of Chris Hansen with his wife,
Mary.
Yeah, so they follow him down there. Obviously, I guess somebody tipped them off that he was involved in this, so their hidden cameras caught him, and that's the great irony. I believe that there's nothing hypocritical at all about this story. None. Zero. None. Look, these guys who he did the story, I don't really like To Catch a Predator because it made me uncomfortable. And there's a degree of entrapment there.
I agree. Definitely a degree of entrapment.
And they stopped doing it in part of that. And then, like with a judge they caught killed himself. You know, ugly things happen. But these guys were trying to have sex with young girls. Those guys are criminals, and they are literally, many of them, sexual predators. This guy is a 51-year-old. First of all, she's 21 years younger. She's 30, though. I mean,
Nope, 21 years younger.
No,
sorry.
no,
sorry. No, okay, look. To be fair, I agree to you to some extent, okay? He's not breaking any laws. He's cheating on his wife, which I think is shady. But, you know, as long as he's not breaking any laws, it's really none of our business, right?
None.
So I agree with you to that extent. Now, being a person who entertains through information, I think this story is awesome. And I think we should be talking about it. And I think, look, it's definitely ironic, and it's a little bit of, you don't like it, do you? A little taste of your own medicine.
No, these people are criminals. There's no taste of your own medicine.
No, it is taste of your own medicine. Because here's the thing about Chris Hansen's show, okay? He got people who thought about doing bad things. There was definitely entrapment, okay? What the guys did was wrong, okay? They were planning on having sex with minors. Wrong in every single circumstance, right? But with him, it's like, okay, well, you do not throw stones if you live in a glass house. And in this case, he's doing something wrong.
Having an affair with a 30-year-old girl. So here's the deal. Any man who has had an affair in their lives cannot criticize rapists.
No.
No, that's right. Okay, so that's your plan.
No, that's not the case.
That's what you said. That's
I was
what
being
you said.
sarcastic.
No, I didn't hear sarcasm. I don't know. I like, and then there's the National Enquirer part of this, and obviously that stems some of my vitriol here.
Okay.
Because look, these guys have subverted journalism. They have played a significant role in the undermining of quality journalism. They haven't done it by themselves, and real reporters, you know, how to look themselves in the mirror. But these guys, you know, there's the source in the story. The source who couldn't possibly know things. The source alleged Kristen got on so well, she ended up going back to his room at the Colony Hotel in Palm Beach and later boasted to pals about staying the night with him. You know, and then like the source, Chris sends Kristen flowers and tells her he loves her, but he still doesn't seem all that motivated to leave his wife for her. There's one where it's like, oh, they were inseparable. The source says they stared into each other's eyes all night long. Who is this person?
I know. Look, those are little details of the story. A, I don't believe. B, I don't even care if they were true. None of that concerns me at all.
They paid the person, just like they paid the doorman who I guess saw them leave the apartment where he goes, Kristen's hair was disheveled, the source says, as if she just rolled out of bed.
Yeah, I kind of like that part.
They lower the hammer so
Dirty,
much,
dirty.
like, and then they got together, and then they made out, and then they went back to his office. I mean, they went back to the hotel, and then later in the morning they came out of the hotel and they were wearing different clothes. Yeah, we got it. They slept together. Point made. Point made 10 minutes ago. So, you know, and so they pay these sources, who obviously would seem to be a friend of hers. That's what it reads like. But there's also the possibility that we should examine that the National Enquirer made up the source. They're right about the story. So they caught them doing this, right? And then because the quotes are so generic, and it happens in every story, they were inseparable. Their hands were together. It's going to make you uncomfortable. Yeah. And they just stared into each other's eyes all night long. Who does that? Who stares into somebody's eyes all night long when you're eating dinner? Like you're going to, I mean.
Some people do. The romantic type do.
I mean, come on. You gotta eat, dude. I don't know. I don't buy it. I think they made they pay for stories, and then they have forced other journalists. They didn't force them. They have played a role in other reporters sort of stooping to this level, this kind of journalism.
Right.
It's bad. It's ugly. They're a shady, horrible organization.
The National Enquirer. Does anyone actually look at the National Enquirer and think of them as journalists?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
People
yes.
know that it's mostly tabloid. People know that it's not a credible source. Now, in this case, they have actual footage. They have. They obtained the footage, so we know that there's definitely some evidence that this actually happened. But in most cases, you read the front page of the National Enquirer, and it says crazy things like Kim Kardashian in a lesbian relationship with her sister Khloe. Like it'll say something so off the wall and crazy. No one knows it. No one thinks the National Enquirer is credible.
I disagree. I think people do think they're credible. I think that they've separated themselves from the pack of those magazines fairly effectively. By the way, do you know that that's not true?
Well, I was suspecting something like that
When
was
the
occurring.
Armenians get together, do they talk about that?
Can you imagine?
Anyway, I don't want anyone to hear about I don't believe there's any hypocrisy in this story.
What about the irony?
There's no irony, there's no hypocrisy.
Look at it.
None. Zero. All right.
Somebody likes Chris Hansen.
He's dreamy. He's handsome.
Oh, awesome. This is what I've been waiting for. Let's watch
That type of protection tonight.
Do you want me to go get you some milk for your brownies?
That would be good.
Okay, I'll be right back.
You always so polite.
Yeah?
How's it taste? Check the sheet right over there.
I thought you were supposed to be in the hot tub already.
Oh, I'm just getting dressed. I've got a surprise for you.
I guess I'm probably not the surprise you expected, am I?
You are exactly surprised.
Why don't you have a seat over there for me?
You're exactly what I was expecting.
So you've got a big afternoon planned, huh? Why don't you have a seat right there, please?
Where are you?
Oh, I'm just gonna go finish getting ready. I'll be right there.
Come here.
No, I promise I'll be right back.
No, come here.
I'll be right there. Just wait. Gotta be patient.
Actually, I want you to come here. What positions have you tried?
You know what it is about it? You know why everyone is so fascinated with the story? It's because of the fact that he's so smug in all of these videos. He's always like, you just got caught. Why don't you have a seat over here and we'll have a little discussion? Like, get the fuck out of here. Come on. Like, that's the part of it that really gets on my nerves. Like, okay, I get it. These guys are criminals. What they're going to do is terrible. They should be locked away. I totally understand. But he's completely enjoying the situation, and that's what annoys me about him.
So you excited
that's where
too?
the hypocrisy is. Like,
How you doing?
that's where, you know, he is like completely enjoying the situation, and you know what? I think that it's not a bad idea for other people to enjoy the fact that he got caught doing something
You're not a
wrong,
real
I think.
predator. So
Yeah,
just to pretend.
it's so different. It's just so different. But again, you know, I don't remember what the story. I don't remember how old these girls alleged themselves to be. Do you?
Like 13, despicably young. Like,
Yeah, all right. Well,
yeah.
All right. Never mind then. Okay. Anyway, that watching it made me uncomfortable. Everything made me uncomfortable.
Oh,
I mean,
so-
let's be honest.
Uh-huh.
The best part is, I was like, what's Chris going to say when he steps out? What's he
I
going
know.
to say? What's he going to say?
You know, I only
Tastes good, doesn't it?
I only watched one. Yeah.
Is it
I guess I wasn't the surprise you were looking for.
is your mouth watering? I mean, come on, dude. He gets really, it's right on the line where he's like, it's some suggestion there a little bit. Tastes good, huh?
JR is so right.
Yeah. God, it just comes out of different places, doesn't it?
You never know.
Yeah.
I feel like he might pop up
Like-
from behind the TV
like he's in
and
a
be like,
cake.
"Oh, you're having a conversation about me, huh?"
Yeah. I don't know. It's.
How's the discussion?
It's tough, and and these guys, the cynics will say that they're just upset about being caught. Mm-hmm. But there's a degree of instant shame that they feel too. That's not just about them getting caught, like a realization of I shouldn't be here. I should never have done this. Why?
course,
It's not just that they. I don't know. The whole thing may be uncomfortable, and I guess it made Dateline uncomfortable because they stopped doing it,
Right.
even though it was wildly successful. So
I can totally imagine why it was wildly successful.
Yeah.
Just those clips were entertaining.
Yeah, I watched it one time, start to finish, and then that was it. Couldn't do it again. I was yelling at the TV the whole time like it was The Bachelorette. That's about the only other time I've yelled at the TV that much. Was during The Bachelorette.
Oh, really? Why? Did something shady happen?
No, because I can't take how the girls fall for this.
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
see.
how are you with this guy? It's so obvious. It's so cheesy. The show's so stupid. I can't stop watching. It's fantastic.
You still watch it?
I watch it whenever I can. I get drawn in. I mean, it's really good. That's the thing. It's really good. When we run the clips on Reality Bites Back, I'm totally into it.
I'm a Housewives addict. Like that's the show that I cannot stop watching. It doesn't. I'm not speaking highly of myself here.
That's all right. I watched the whole last season in New York. It was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my whole life.
See?
Yeah, totally.
All right. Okay, let's move on to something a little more serious. So currently in Kansas, there are only 3 abortion clinics. Okay, they're very, very strict on their abortion policies there. And they are planning on shutting down the 3 that remain by making these impossible standards to keep them open, okay? Yeah. So as I mentioned, there are 3, and all 3 of them now have to follow these very, very specific and detailed rules. And I'm going to read those rules to you guys. So according to some of the new clinic requirements, an abortion facility in Kansas must be set to a temperature between 68 and 73 degrees at all times, have a janitor's closet of at least 50 square feet, and an operating room of 150 square feet, feature separate dressing rooms for staff and patients, and have 13 different types of drugs on hand. A patient is now required to stay in the recovery room, which must have a different temperature of 70 to 75 degrees for at least 2 hours after her procedure, even if the procedure requires no anesthesia. So one of the clinics has already failed these requirements, and it is already closed, shut down. Okay, there are 2 remaining, and
they've already failed. They're going to get shut down.
Exactly. So it's done. Okay, if you are a woman in Kansas and you want to have an abortion, even though the Constitution, even though a Supreme Court ruling gives you the right to have an abortion, you have to now travel out of state.
Right, because of these nonsense laws. The best part of the well, first of all, the best part is the 50 square foot
Janitor's closet?
Right, because if my Michael and I talked about this on WMB, but if my wife or daughter needed to have an abortion, I would want to make sure the doctor was competent. I would want to make sure that the janitorial supply closet was at least 50 square feet.
And fully stocked.
And fully stocked, and I would want to make sure that she were given the proper drugs to deal with her pain. Those would be priorities 1, 2, and 3. I mean, what are you talking about? And then the room, again, where you said 68 to 73 degrees. I didn't know about the 70 to 75 degrees for the recovery room.
For at least 2 hours after the procedure.
Right. The room where we'll have to have 150 square feet, excluding fixed cabinets. Like they got that in there. So the cabinet space, that doesn't count.
This is unconstitutional. Okay?
Yes, it is.
This is against the law. And I don't know how they're getting away with this.
Well, when it gets challenged, I assume that it'll get overturned. And it would get overturned. Well, I mean, it would get overturned at the Supreme Court level unless the Supreme Court decided that this was the case they would use to take a look at whether they're going to overturn Roe versus Wade, which is debatable about the votes that they would have to do that. We think they don't. But
I don't know. I have very little faith in the Supreme Court. They've been making rulings that are super questionable. Citizens United being the #1 thing that comes to mind. So I don't know how they would rule in this case if it did reach the Supreme Court.
They'd rule.
I'm discouraged.
They'd stop it because it's just like poll taxes and literacy tests for black voters given the right to vote. It's exactly the same thing. The law has passed, and then you get around the law by setting up unreasonable burdens that make the law that essentially make the law inapplicable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, blacks can vote. That's great. Okay, there's a poll tax. You got to pay $3 to vote. You don't have $3? Oh, you can't vote. Or they take blacks who had been essentially brutally educated for years and years and years after they got the right to vote and made them read complicated parts of the Constitution, and then like, okay, you can't vote. The Supreme Court ultimately was like, yeah, no, you can't do this. And nothing has changed. There's still, we think, 5 votes that would keep Roe versus Wade on the Supreme Court if they were to get this case. But so even, other federal courts would say, look, this is unreasonable. You don't need a freaking janitorial closet. States have some right to restrict abortions, and, parental notification laws have been upheld. There are certain things that states can do, but they can't do this. This is unreasonable. This is just entangling the process deliberately.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, what I love about this story is the Republican lawmakers that passed this legislation, when they're questioned about this, they're like, no. We're not trying to shut down the abortion clinics. We just want to make sure that these women who are getting this service, we just want to make sure that they're safe and they're in a clean environment. What, you don't want them to be in a clean environment? Is that what you're asking me?
State Senator Garrett Love says, I don't believe semi-clean to be okay. I don't believe it to be okay for poor women. I don't believe it to be okay for rich women. So he's just standing up for women.
That's the case. Doesn't matter what your socioeconomic status is. He's looking out for you. He wants to make sure that that janitor's closet is the right size, fully stocked, and you're in a, nice temperature when you're getting your abortion.
Kansas Department of Health and Environment spokesman Robert Moser, who's a physician himself, says implementing the new regulations has been consistent with the work that the KDHE is already doing to ensure Kansans have safe, reliable healthcare facilities in all facilities within the KDHE's purview. Yeah, except now they can't safe, reliable. Except now you can't have an abortion,
right?
Which you're legally allowed to do. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next, but I can't imagine that this law stands. It's comical. Janitor's closet.
One more story for you guys before we take a break. 5 Saudi women have been arrested for driving. So we've talked about the story a couple times. Women in the UAE want to have the right to drive, and they're protesting by just getting behind the wheel and driving. In fact, there were recently 40 women who got behind the wheel, drove, and there were so many of them that authorities couldn't, tackle all of them at the same time. So it's encouraging in that aspect, but 5 women did just get detained. And hopefully that doesn't discourage them, and I hope they keep fighting for the right to drive. Can you imagine not being able to go anywhere unless your male relative drives you around? I mean, this wouldn't affect you because you're a man, but just put yourself in a woman's shoes. Like, you have to call up, like, your dad. Like, Dad, Can you
Right.
drive me around?
Yeah.
Can you drive me to TYT? I got to do a banana show today.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, at least to be for a valid reason. Or like you got to call your husband who you were like dowried to and who rapes you on a nightly basis. And now you need a ride just to get away from it. I mean, it's yeah, whatever. It's horrible. But women are not very good drivers.
Right. Let's take a break.